Namaste, this is VerDarLuz from Divine Timing Coaching, welcoming you to the March astrology forecast. We are in a potent season right before the spring equinox. It's our first month of eclipses this year. It's beginning in March. So we're going to talk about that for a moment, as well as all of the Pisces energy in the skies, some Aries as well, some Aquarius, lots of transits going on, and a really deep month for going into our souls, into psyche, into spirit, empathic, connections being really strong this month. And it's an important month to go within and to slow down a bit before it gets a lot of crazy during Aries season ahead. But let's do this. Let's share the screen. And again, I'm an evolutionary astrologer, divine timing coaching. I work with locational astrology as one of my foundations, helping people find their ideal places to live. I'm also an evolutionary astrologer, working deeply with the soul, past lives, breath work, shamanic work as well, and human design. We do a lot of human design for business success. And if that's of interest to you, just check out the links below. I'm also launching a new program that you might be interested in. It's combining astrology as a kind of therapeutic tool with writing and with embodiment. And it's called Astro Mythology Memoir Embodied. And we're going to be looking at planetary rites of passage, cycles in our life, as well as the asteroids, and doing some writing exercises into them and some meditation work into them. So it's going to be a really fun 5-week course for Pisces season. And just check the links below for that. Let's get into the transits, and I will share the screen with you. And I'm going to start actually by talking to you today about, let's see, there it is. We're going to start with the 28th, because the 28th is a very important day. This is Wednesday, so you might see this the day of or the day after, but the 28th is the day that we have Mercury Cazimi. Now, this happens every few months, and it's when Mercury is in the heart of the sun. And this is a very unique Cazimi because Mercury is with Saturn as well. So see, they're all at the same degree of 9 Pisces. So this is a very sensitive degree for all of us right now, wherever that is in your chart. Especially if you do have planets around 9, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, but especially Pisces, you'll be feeling this triple conjunction. And it speaks to a lot of the Piscean themes in the sky all month of March. But if we break this down, the Cazimi is that moment when Mercury is gathering this important message from, the king of the king of the sky, right? The sun. And so there's usually an important message delivered during this time. And this adds a level of importance because Saturn is here. And so is it a message from, the government or institutions or your landlord or the dentist or other Saturnian, the doctor, Saturnian figures? You probably have some kind of engagement this week with some kind of, again, institutional or civilizational types of figures related to Saturn. It could also be a boss, some kind of authority figure. Now, given that this Cazimi, this triple conjunction is happening in Pisces, there could also be a really, it's interesting. It's like, it's both a sobering and a spiritual download at the same time. So I could see something like a spiritual wake-up call for a lot of us this week. Maybe there's been certain addictive patterns we've been in that always comes up at this time of the year with Pisces. That could be media, right? It could be scrolling, it could be television, it could be addictions to food or drink or any kind of escapist tendencies. These all come up for us at the Pisces time of the year, but it's something that feels a little bit more serious, sobering, and even sort of heavy around this time with Saturn. I mean, anytime that Saturn and the sun are connected in the sky, and this is going to happen every year at this time, we're going to feel like we have more weight, more pressure, more duties. Work can just pile up, or we realize, maybe I haven't been doing, enough task mastery in my life, and Saturn comes in and cracks the whip. And this will be with us all this week, first week of March. but it also has something to do with messages, and so we want to have a more crystalline focus with our messages. We want to be more serious about what we're saying, meaning what we say, saying what we mean. But also, I think that this is something about some deeper psychic work that we're all having to do right now with each other. And I mean psychological work and psychic work. Pisces is the best season of the year to be doing divination work. So this can definitely be astrology. It can be numerology, human design, also dowsing, pendulum work, tarot, um, just speaking more with psychics and astrologers, getting insight from your higher self and intuition. That's all going to be really heightened right now. But then we have to do something with that. We have to make it practical, pragmatic, and that's the presence of Saturn here. Um, and so very important. It feels like a very important week. Some heavier energies, or maybe some decisions that need to be made. Maybe a pivot point, and it feels like something professional that is a launching off point for some of us. And there may be someone that gives us a message around this, or we may get that reading that opens that up for us, right? Or that coaching work. Now, this also could mean some kind of deeper need to connect more empathically, more artistically, more spiritually in partnerships. That's going to be a big theme this whole month. But we've had this really intense journey for Mars and Venus. Mars and Venus were conjunct Pluto, about 10 to 14 days ago. There was the Valentine's transit. And that brought up a lot of shadow material for us to work with. And a question of, are we deep enough in our relationships? Are we, accessing the realms of, intense alchemy that we'd like to? Or is there power plays? And now, we're past that Pluto cycle, but Mars and Venus are still in the sky the first week of March together. And Mars can bring fiction to the Venus, values. So we might have like ways that we're disconnecting from our partner, or certain social connections in our life. We may be like, well, that's not really my community. I thought it was, or I'm going to try that. And maybe that is, so Mars is also giving energy to experimentation, to more novelty, to something more unique and innovative for us in terms of our community right now. So it is really important to be in those alliances, right? Those affiliations with some different communities, whether that's online or in person. And those kind of have to amp up into a much more sort of spiritual dimension at this point, given the Pisces transits that are here and coming in more. So motivation, Mars towards Venus things, beauty and art and, social life and friendships and love, but then sometimes some defense or some irritation from Mars at the same time. This is a very chemistry kind of transit, right? Like there is a romantic energy always with Venus Mars, and but there's something detached too because they're in Aquarius. So let's move the chart forward. That Aquarian Mars Venus, it's a great time to be studying our relationship intentions, right? I love talking to couples or even individuals about composite charts, looking back at previous relationships they've been in. The two people as one, right? That's a very essential chart to be studying, whether that's in astrology or human design. Even in numerology, we can do this, but we have the two as one. And you can do this for a couple. You can do this for a colleague relationship, right? You can do it for a child and parent. But this could be a month where you really want to look at the soul contracts, given the nature of Pisces, given the nature of Aquarius being a sign that needs to detach and look at the patterns, right? And so when we study the patterns, we can evolve the patterns, right? And that's a very Aquarian mantra. And this is that time of the year where we, are looking at sort of the shift between the ages, that kind of Piscean journey where, we are very connected to spirit, but sometimes we're so muddied by the waters that we're in. We're confused by the stories that we're swimming in or drowning in. It's connected, Pisces, to dissolution. in alchemy, the phase also called solutio, where our souls, this substance is dissolving into the archetypal field, into the mythic imagination. I'm going to give you this quote. It's from Michael Meade, who's one of the great mythologists that's living with us today, the great teachers and mentors. Living myth is about the experience of the waters parting again in the here and now. As a critical moment opens before us, the spirit of life and genius of the soul speaks to us and through us. Speaks to us and through us. What was about to crush us suddenly parts before us, and we shoot forward with the sudden vitality of life, fueled by the living imagination needed to survive. Wow. And that's in Michael's book, The Genius Myth. And Michael talks a lot about the genius, which is also called the daimon, or the higher self. And I wrote about this as well in my book, Aquarius Dawns, and that this archetype of Chiron, which I spoke about this week in a class, Chiron is on the North Node. We need to be really paying attention to this, because Chiron is a symbol that can help reveal our genius to us. Wherever Chiron is in our charts, we have this wound, this separating story. Sometimes it's a victimized story, but it also shows us the direct path. It's like aiming our spirit where we have work to do as a coach or a guide or a mentor or a healer. And all of us are awakening to that right now. It's very strong. Chiron is on the North Node. He's just past the North Node. And he's going to be with us the entire month of March on the North Node. North Node being the symbol of increase or growth in the collective, sort of the unfolding destiny. And this is going to be part of the solar eclipse on April 8th. We're not there yet, but Chiron will be hit by that, as well as the North Node is the symbol of that eclipse. And so that brings up a theme that we're moving towards, all of us stepping into our higher coaching work and mentorship work. But it also brings up that probably we're working through trauma. We're working through some of those core wounds. And this month particularly brings that up because, Pisces brings up a lot of the emotion, the grief, the sadness, the depth of the soul. And that's why I'm doing this memoir course right now, because it's a time where we want to bring more poetry into our life, more dream work, could be shadow work as well, but deep connection with spirit. And that's why having text, sacred text, scriptures that open our faith, that connect us to our guides or our higher selves or God, spirit, it's really, really important. And it's it's just kind of a beautiful synchronicity that this is the month when Lent will start, and also Ramadan in the Muslim tradition, 40 days of fasting. And it's kind of perfect for this time of the year. It doesn't always land like that, but where the intention there is that we are directing more of our day, more of our life towards our Creator, towards that which gives us life, sustains us. And we're also more sensitive to the needs of the collective. So we're doing more charitable work, and we're offering ourselves more in service. This can be really helpful because the sun in Pisces is dissolving the ego for all of us. Now, it could be a great time to be more artistic with that energy, more creative through dance and any kind of arts, right? And we're going to see that come in stronger as the month unfolds when Venus goes into Pisces. But first, Venus is hitting the square with Aquarius. Now let's look at the third here. Sorry, Venus is in Aquarius, is squaring Uranus. And there it is. See that square on the third. And it's shortly on the heels of this, right? In the week after, Mars is moving towards his square, which will be exact right here on March 9th. March 9th is a big day, but let's look back at Venus first, because, this is a paradigm shift needed in our relationships. And it's already been happening, right? We talked about that. But Venus Uranus can bring some chaos, some uncertainty, some surprise. it could be a separating type of energy in relationship, but it can also be a novel inducing, meaning something very experimental or different that we do. It could be a new sexual practice, right? It could be a new group of people or friends that we hang out with, a new social place to go, um, experiment with ourselves and learn something new. Or maybe there's a really cool event in town that we've never done something before in our relationship, Um, so living socially, relationally, out of the box is really important around the Venus square to Uranus, and expecting a little bit of, rocky roads a bit, and just bringing astrology in. Like I said, bringing these Uranian tools to understand your relationship can be really, really important. And if you're not in one, then why not study these tools to understand what's my relationship intention, right? What do I really want at this time? What phase of life am I in relationally? These are great things to be doing when Venus squares Uranus. Also, when Mars squares, we get, this can be very volatile. We get very independent. We really want freedom. That's why this combination can bring quite a few shifts around relationship for us. So we have to be very conscious of how we're communicating. The challenge comes up for us, with this kind of radical desire of Mars. Like, I want freedom. Um, I want to do what I want, just kind of that's the feeling of Mars Uranus. It could be very much like firecrackers going off. It could be very cold in how it sort of reacts. It could be defensive too. So we need to, again, try something new, experiment, be sensitive to others. The challenge is Mercury in Pisces is not clear with its communication. It's not direct. And what happens is, it, especially with the same time frame as Mars, this is why we're a little like, oh, look at that March 8th, 9th, 10th, because this is those days you can see Mercury's coming to Neptune pretty much by the 6th, 7th. And then that, Mercury's already in Neptune's sign of affinity, Pisces. And then it's bringing, this is the best transit, Mercury Neptune, for channeling, for psychic work, for dream work, for meditation, sometimes for ceremonial work. This is beautiful time to be writing. I'm going to create a little pocket myself over those days to be really writing a lot. Great for poetry, memoir, fiction, all of that. Creative process is best used this way. We can really download, but clarity is not happening. Vision is happening. Imagination is happening. A spiritual revelation is happening. But we can be disoriented. We could be confused. There could be messages that seem like they're saying one thing and then they actually mean something else. So if you put that with the Mars square to Uranus, now then someone could get very reactive with, what they thought was being communicated, but it wasn't. And shortly after this, by the 10th, then, or even kind of 9th, 10th cusp, Mercury is moving into Aries. So now that gives a lot of fire and passion and leadership with how we communicate, but it can also be more defenses, more quicker reactivity, more temperamental types of communication. And so, we kind of this kind of begins a little bit of that Aries season right on the new moon in Pisces, which is, it's looking like it's right there, a few hours. It depends on where you are, but it's from the 9th to the 10th that new moon will be happening. Let's look at hours here. We'll pull that up. Yeah, it's right there. 1 a.m. in the morning in the Pacific time. So yeah, the 10th, we're looking at that new moon in Pisces with the presence of Neptune, with Saturn kind of wide. That's interesting. It's kind of midway there, that we see this new moon. And it's emphasizing everything we've talked about around, activating the mystic in you, the mythologist in you, one of the best ways to do this astrologically is through the asteroids. The asteroids are very nuanced, very subtle. There's many thousands of them. Some of them are named after personal names, after places. As an example, Berkeley, Ashley, Nikki. These are names. These are names of places too. Washingtonia, but a lot of them are named after mythologies cross culturally. And I work a lot with the asteroids because when you have an asteroid on your sun or your moon or your ascendant, this tells you, potentially a mythos or even, a place or a name that is very significant for you. It can reveal aspects of your deeper soul work. Like there's a whole bunch of asteroids related to the healing professions. Panacea is one, Asclepia, based off the Greek god of healing. Um, you know, there's also asteroids related to psychic work and being a channel, like the Pythia from ancient Greece and Delphi. Um, there's a dark goddess asteroids. There's Lilith. There's Inanna. There's Hecate. So if you've never studied that, this could be a great time of the year for that because the mythic imagination is very open. It's going to be a part of our writing course, actually. And so check that out if you're kind of really attracted to the mythologies and how they live in you and the asteroids specifically. I think of the asteroids as the daimon or genius forces in us because they're so specific with how they're directing our life experience. So this is up for us. What is the mythos during this new moon that wants to be born through us? Right. And there's a lot of creative work we can do around this new moon. But again, it feels a little volatile, right? With that Mars square to Uranus in effect. And, Mercury's just inching into Aries. So, so if we're looking at then it's pretty much the next day, Venus going into Pisces. It's on the 11th. Oh, we're in the hours. So let's back up and we'll go to the days and we'll see here, there she is, 11th, 12th, making her shift into her exalted sign of Pisces. The goddess here, this is a very sweet energy. And maybe in a way we kind of like this part of the month a little bit better. Or these days because now Mercury's in Aries, so there isn't as much confusion. Mercury's much more direct here, much more bold, yes, a little feisty, but not that kind of swirling, uncertain. A lot of things don't work when Mercury's in Pisces, like in terms of technology. It's almost like Mercury retrograde a little bit, but now Mercury's in Aries, more than half of the month. Venus comes into her exaltation, and so she's very sweet. She's very harmonic in this sign. She's very artistic. This is going to be a great transit for Pisces energies when Venus crosses your sun. And she's kind of pulling away now from Mars. So she's not, too kind of feeling a lot of aggression. She's more flowing. She's more intuitive. This can be, a great time to be, again, doing more artistic work, especially in relationships. You can be singing together, dancing together, creating art together. It's just it's a great time to go to the movies, or watch movies you've always wanted to see with a partner, let's say. Dancing together, like we said. Now, let's just move ahead into Venus's story, just so you can see that on the 18th, let's say by the 19th, you'll start to get this week, right, between the 19th and 24th, 5th, and exactly happening right here. It's going to be Venus-Saturn. Okay, so Venus-Saturn exactly conjunct here on the 22nd. 22nd. So again, that week around there, 3 days before, 3 days after, you're feeling, this goddess now, it's a lot more serious. And so this could be a great time for a committal or commitment type of ceremony, a recommitment ceremony. Um, Saturn Venus brings up like what are we doing in our relationship? It's a more stern, serious tone that Saturn will bring towards our partnerships, also towards money, and we might feel like we have a little bit less, or we want to be careful with our investments around that time. We could be putting them, towards Venusian things in a good solid way. Like if I'm going to buy some really beautiful Piscean clothing, okay, I want to make sure that I'm going to want to wear that for the next couple years, um, or if I'm investing in, a coaching program, does it have like, some spirit behind it? Is the kind of people I want to be around for a while, or a coach that I want to work with that is connected to spirit, some of those Piscean ideals. But whatever we're doing that week, socially or in love, or creatively, it has a more serious tone to it. And we want to be thinking in terms of the long terms and in terms of commitment. So we need to mark this one down. This is an important transit that we will definitely feel. And there could be some pressure around certain relationships in our life, a sense of duty that comes up. And maybe again, we want to make sure that we're in very spiritual connections at this time. And if there's a spiritual disconnect in our partnership, that might be Saturn's voice coming in saying, you know what, you're just not aligned with each other right now, right? And Saturn can also bring, a kind of a breaking point if we're not going in the same direction. But he can also make us want to, make a more serious commitment to each other. And that's why this could be a great time for a hand fasting, maybe a 3-month or a 6-month or a year-long partnership where you have very clear goals together. Maybe it's a creative partnership, right? I call them creationships. So what is that for you at this time of the month? And that's actually pretty much the day. Well, it's the day after, it looks like, on the 23rd, that Mars goes into Pisces. Now, this is Mars will be there through all of April as well. So we don't really end Pisces season, when the sun goes into Aries, which is 3 days before this on March 20th, spring equinox, because we still have that Mars in Pisces. Now, this is not a very directed version of the masculine or the god. It's a much more, romantic, Don Juan, Casanova, poet, music artist, idealist, kind of dreamy, cinematic archetype, right? And I say it all that way very intentionally because it's not clear, right? It's very slippery. It's like a merman, right? If Venus in Pisces is the mermaid, this is the merman. And so we shouldn't get too attached, which is ironic, right? Because we still have that Saturn energy there, but it's hard to attach to the Pisces energy. It is slippery, right? It's the water. And so we want to be engaging in, and again, more artistic pursuits relationally, and also just in general, art and spirit guides Mars in Pisces. We have to be careful to be too crusading with any kind of spiritual purpose or anything like that. But it's a great time to be doing things like martial arts. If you're skiing, if you're on the mountain, getting into some of those more like idyllic moments that lift your spirit. I mean, it could be through books and literature. It could be through the arts, music, galleries, art walks, things like that, going to a concert. So, enjoying that, right? And not expecting Mars and Pisces to get so like directed with its purpose and its passion and its mission. But the sun going into Aries will help us with that. That this is the exalted sign of Aries. So we're going to feel a lot more energy than we would the first half of the month once the sun goes into Aries on the equinox, which is going to be March 20th. And and there's a chart for that time, this chart here, which can guide us for the next 3 months, seasonally. Again, it is Mars will still be in Aquarius then, but it's going to be a feeling of invigoration during that time. Mercury would be with Chiron. This is interesting. We will have I think that day of the equinox, again, a healing message that wants to come through. We need to be sensitive with our words at that time. We can also think that this could affect things like the markets and trade. Does something drop out at that time, or is there some kind of news? We've recently had a lot of big stuff in the markets having to do with the Nvidia company being sort of the highest growth, market cap and earnings in a single day. That's pretty big, right, in the history of the stock market. And we think that there's a lot of movement with that around this time, around the equinox. We're setting the stage, for the eclipse, the first eclipse of the year, and it's March 25th. You'll see it here. It's actually 5 degrees of Libra, sun at 5, moon's at 5. So wherever Libra is in your chart, you want to pay special attention to that. And then April 8th, we'll have the solar eclipse in that area of your chart in Aries. But this lunar eclipse is sensitive degrees around the first 10 degrees of Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. It's going to bring up relationship issues, right? As we talked about. Venus has just crossed Saturn, we talked about. Venus is the ruler of that eclipse. So I think, again, are we in a spiritual enough relationship? Are we in a creative connection? Venus and Pisces shadows can come up during this eclipse, which is high idealism, high romanticism, real desire really for being with our source, but it's hard to be with that in a practical way every day with another person, cleaning the dishes and doing chores. And we can experience disappointment or disillusionment sometimes with Venus and Pisces, and then Mars coming in, right? And so what we really want to do is empty ourselves out and have a kind of unagendaed partnership where spirit can channel through us, right? And we can be very empathic with each other at this time. And we have to watch not dissolving boundaries too much, right? And so this moon in Libra, full moon, lunar eclipse, am I in balanced, harmonious relationships, professional, personal? Am I being met intimately? Is spirit infusing my partnerships? And am I giving too much away, giving myself too much away? Am I balanced? Is this harmonic? What does it take to create a more artistic and aesthetically beautiful type of relating, right? Like we can take it to another level, another level. I love this eclipse again this month, just for me, around doing conscious relationship work, tantra, astrology, human design, more tools to understand each other and to be in conscious co-creation. So this if you look at the end of the month, I don't see anything else jumping out as much. We enter the eclipse portal, the last, March 27, 28, moon in Scorpio. Those are sometimes difficult days for all of us. So just sensitize around those days. And the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction starts to approach. It's going to be with us big throughout April, big breakthroughs for us, real strong surges towards freedom and revolution with this experimentation, technology exploding. I think you're going to start to feel this at the end of the month once, we're in Aries season, combined with some, Jupiter-Uranus expansion and novel energy coming onto the planet. So April is going to be very intense, but we'll wait for April with that. So, and again, Pisces, Aries energy is really feeling more this month. Those parts of your chart being really activated, as well as the Aquarius, the first part of the month with Mars and Venus both there. So, uh, beautiful. Well, thanks for going on a journey with us today. If you're interested in human design, evolutionary astrology, locational astrology, if you're feeling the move, that might be coming up. That always tends to happen around eclipse times. We start to feel like, maybe I might be moving. Let's check out your locational work. And if you're interested in the astromythology embodied transformative writing and movement workshop, check the link below. It's going to start on the 6th. So many blessings to you all. A beautiful month of March ahead, and we will see you next month. Namaste.